Ayo guys, what's up? It's me, Fang I3anger. In this video, I'm going to be bringing you something a little different today. I've seen a couple other YouTubers do, and that is a draw my life. Now keep in mind, I do have some of the worst handwriting known to mankind, and all I could really do was stick figures, but let's go ahead and get started. So, my dad, who is a cowboy from the state of Texas, but was really from Germany, he came here when he was like 7 or 8, met my mom at a rodeo/carnival in Miami, Oklahoma, and that is where my mom lived and she was from. They fell in love and they loved each other from the start. My mom was really young. My dad was a few years older than her, I believe like 6 years older than her, but somehow they bonded and they ended up getting together, and she moved down with him to Waco from Oklahoma, and they got married and had my little brother Jimmy, who was a devil child, but he was also a really cute baby, so they were really excited to have them, but they decided that that wasn't all they wanted. They were also going to want to have another child as well, so a couple years later they made a plan and they decided that they were going to work on having their second child. Now, in their second child, they were wanting to have a female, so they worked really hard at it. They had already had the first one, and he was a boy, and they were like, man, boys are really too hard to raise. So when my mom got pregnant and she went to have an ultrasound with me, they were like, we really think that this is another boy, which kind of upset them. They're like, oh, we're going to have another boy. But when I came out, I ended up being a girl, and they named me Jessica, or Jessie for short, and they were really excited, and they're like, yes, we had a girl, and this is exactly what we wanted, and we're gonna have the perfect family, and it's gonna be really happy, and it's, you know, Jimmy and Teresa, Jimmy Jr., and Jessica. I was born November 3rd, 1987, almost a Halloween baby, which would have been way more cooler to have that type of birthday, but unfortunately, that is not how it turned out for me, and my family didn't turn out staying a family. Unfortunately, when I was 2 years old, my parents decided to get a divorce, and my brother was really upset by it, but I wasn't really fazed because I didn't really know what was going on at the time. I was only 2 years old. Now, my mom thought that I was going to be like this cheerleader girly girl. She had this dream for me, and she was really excited. She was like, I'm going to dress her up in dresses and do all this stuff, but turns out I was one of the biggest tomboys ever, and by the age of 3, I was like, no, I'm going to be rocking my jeans, my Jinko jeans, and my Dallas Cowboy shirts, and so she wasn't very happy with that. And whenever I was like 6 years old, she decided she missed her family, and she moved us from Waco, Texas, and we went back up to Miami, or how they pronounce it, Miami, so it's not like Miami. And at first I was really sad about this because I was really upset. I didn't see my dad a whole lot. He traveled a lot for his job anyway, and he lived in Waco, so that's how I saw him. So I figured I'm never going to get to see him if I live in Miami. So I was really upset about this. My transition to Miami ended up not being that hard of a transition. I made friends really quickly, mostly because I was a super athlete. I played soccer, that looks like a basketball, not really. I played baseball, I also did some football, and I was also a cheerleader, only because my mom forced me to be a cheerleader. I was not very happy about that, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Now, whenever I was in 2nd grade, I would believe, my mom met my stepdad, Steve. At the time, he was a Marine. He had just got out of the Marines, and we thought he was really cool. Me and my brother were really happy that they got together. They got married, and not too long after, a few years after, they got pregnant, and they had my little sister, Taylor. And me and my brother were really excited about this, me more so than my brother, but I was also kind of sad with this family because even though I saw Steve all the time, I really missed my dad. And not too long after they had my little sister Taylor, unfortunately, my stepdad and my mom decided to get a divorce, and this was really upsetting for me and my brother. We really liked having Steve around. We thought he was a really nice guy, and he helped me out a lot with my sports, which he still kind of did even after the marriage, but this sent my mom into a phase in her life that I like to call the dark years of her life, and it's where she started to abuse drugs and alcohol. She just wasn't the mom that I remembered. Because she was this way, I ended up doing a whole lot of rotating where I lived with my mom and my grandma and my Aunt Cindy and my Aunt Carla, and I just didn't really understand what was going on at that age of my life, and it made me really distraught, and I always was just asking, you know, why was this happening, and I didn't really know why. Not to mention that it started really affecting me as a student. I started mouthing off to my teachers and getting in a whole lot of trouble, and all my good grades that I were making went to D's and F's, and I was really going downhill. And this is about the time that my grandma Sue decided that she didn't want to see this happen to me. She was like, oh no, this can't happen to Jessica. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give her dad a call, and hopefully, even though against what her daughter wanted, I'm going to send her to live with her dad. And my mom was really upset about this, but my dad was really excited. Not to mention, I was pretty excited myself because I didn't know what else was going to go or what was going to happen. I was really upset with life. And I do see my grandma as a little bit of an angel for doing this for me. I think that she saved my life as well as my dad did. Now, with all this happening, I forgot to mention that my dad had got remarried around the same time my mom did when I was 7, and he married my stepmom, Anita. And Anita had a daughter that was the same age as me, and her name was Summer. So when I moved in with them, I was a little bit of a rule breaker. I didn't have any rules, and Anita had tons of rules. So me and Anita did not see eye to eye, and we did not get along at all. I totally disliked my stepmom. And me and my stepsister, Summer, we were pretty friendly at the beginning, but at the same time I moved in, my cousin Joey moved in, who was also going through a troublesome life. He had problems with his mom, and we kind of became friends, and then we would play pranks on each other, and somehow me and Summer ended up not being good friends at all. Throughout high school, we didn't talk very much. Now, when I first moved with my dad, I was in 6th grade, and I didn't think I'd make a whole lot of friends because I was really quiet at that time. And I went from being 5'2" to 5'9" within like 4 or 5 months, so I was a giant compared to everybody else. But on the first day of school, I met a girl named Jenny who came up to me on the bleachers, and she was like, "You're gonna be so popular." And this was like something I'd always remember her saying, and that made me really happy. And it ended up being pretty popular. I was a basketball player, and I played baseball, and I made a lot of friends. Even though I didn't have like boyfriends and stuff like that a whole lot in middle school, I had a ton of friends, so I enjoyed it. About around 8th grade is when I decided I did not want to dress like a boy anymore. I couldn't be a tomboy. I wanted to start wearing makeup. I wanted to start impressing guys, and I was really into cowboys. Me and my friends Jenny and Lauren would love to go out to rodeos, hang out with cowboys, and we thought it was like the greatest thing ever. We thought they were just so cute, and we were totally into it. It was our thing. And I actually met my first boyfriend at a rodeo in Mineral Wells, Texas, and his name was Rowdy. He was a cowboy. He was, a high school dropout, but turns out that the whole entire time that he was dating me, he had a whole other girlfriend, and I found this out, and this totally turned me off from Cowboys for Life. Not too long after I had broken up with Rowdy, I was hanging out with another best friend that I had made in my freshman year of high school named Sydney, and she had kind of got me into a group of friends where I was introduced to a guy named Will. And she was dating a guy named Lewis who was like his friend, so it was like me and her, and it was Will and Lewis. And Will had just kind of got his heart broken from a relationship he was in, and I had had my heart broken, and I was like, "Hey, you want to make out?" That's not really what I said, but somehow we kind of fell into each other, and we started talking, and we really liked each other. I remember this time when we first decided to become a relationship, and I was grounded as I always was in high school, and Will was out with one of our friend Leo, and he was like on the phone, and he was saying, "Hey, I'm gonna come break you out." And I was like, "There's no way you're getting in here." My parents had a alarm. There was no one going in, no one coming out. And he was like, "Well, I just really wanted to ask you if you wanted to be my girlfriend." And I was like, "Yes." And this happened on January 10th, 2004. We became boyfriend and girlfriend. Now, Will was a senior in high school at this time, so he was going to be moving away to go to college in Lubbock at Texas Tech, and I was really upset about this because around this same time, I had to stop playing sports due to I had fallen out in a basketball game, and I had some problems where I had to have a lot of tests run, and I couldn't actually play sports anymore because of some problems that I had. And so there was no sports and there was no Will, and I decided I wanted to graduate early. And this ended up making my friends Jenny and Sydney really sad, but I had to make the best out of it, and I ended up having a really good junior/senior year. I became the high school mascot. I got to go to cheerleading camp with my friends, and it was a lot of fun. I loved that year of high school. Now, I graduated high school, and it finally came the time where I was going to go to Texas Tech myself, and I was going to go live in Lubbock, but that's when I found out that Will, my boyfriend, actually had gotten in some trouble, and he was going to have to come back to Fort Worth and go to school at TCC, and this made me extremely upset. I had no idea what I was going to do up there alone. Fortunately for me, though, I was able to join a sorority called Alpha Phi, and that made me really happy because that's where I met my two friends, Kelly and Brittany, and I had one of the best years of my life in college in my freshman year. I did a lot of partying, I drank a lot of beer, and then I also spent a lot of my time playing Xbox. I had a regular Xbox in my dorm room, and I played Fight Night Round 3 single player all the time. And with that, I also made really good grades, and I was able to get a new car because of it. I was really excited. Finally, my sophomore year, Will and I were able to live in the same city again, and he came back to Texas Tech. And this is about the time where I became really into video games. Will ended up getting the new PS3 that came out, and with that he had a little 19-inch flat screen TV, and Will and I would sit in his room and we would play this game called Warhawk for hours on split screen, and we were obsessed with it. And at some point I started getting really into Fight Night Round 3, and I ended up playing his PS3 all the time to where I pretty much would not let him play it, and I'd be on there owning noobs in Fight Night online, and I thought it was like the best thing in the world. In 2007, Call of Duty 4 was about to come out, and Will talked me into getting my own PS3 because he knew I'd take his. So I got my own PS3, and I went out and I bought a 40-inch flat screen TV, and I became ridiculously obsessed with Call of Duty 4. I played all day, every day. I drank beer, I went out, and if I wasn't doing that, I was playing Call of Duty. Good for me though, I was able to keep good grades. Some point not too far into Call of Duty, I got introduced to a website called GameBattles.com, and this is where I became the biggest nerd you'll ever see. I played Game Battles all day, every day. It was like my obsession, and I thought that GB rank was like the only thing that mattered in life, and I was obsessed. I ended up graduating college in May of 2009. I was really excited about that. I got a business degree, and I also got a degree in what I would call kicking ass in Call of Duty and GB rank and GB greatness. I was the #1 girl in the state of Texas at World at War Call of Duty as well as Call of Duty 4, and I was just such a GB rank nerd. After college, I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do with myself. I went between a whole lot of jobs. I was at GameStop, I was at Honda Finance, I was at American Airlines, and they just all seemed to do the same thing, which was bore me. And this is when I found out that I was really not that interested in business whatsoever. One thing that did seem to keep my interest though was Call of Duty, and I got really into it, and I started competing with these all-girls teams. And what we do is we travel to these MLG events around the United States. We went to places like Raleigh and Dallas, and we would play in these events and compete for money, and I thought that that was really exciting and I loved it. With this, I got introduced to a game called FIFA 12, and this became a newfound obsession. After winning an HD PVR in a Black Ops 1 tournament, I found out that I could get on a site called twitch.tv and stream FIFA 12, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. And I ended up going from like 5 viewers to 10 viewers to 50, and at one point I even got 1,500 plus. That's about the time I got introduced to Yoush, and they let me stream on their channel, and then they introduced me to something called YouTube, and they told me, hey, you can make money doing FIFA videos, and I was like, that sounds awesome. Through YouTube, I got to work with companies such as Kick TV, Copa 90, and even got followed by EA itself, which made my channel grow from having 1,000 to 2,000 subscribers to having now 22,000 plus. A lot of times my subscribers will ask me, hey Fangbanger, do you have a boyfriend? And guess what, guys? Me and Will are still together to this day. Been dating Will for now 9+ years, and he actually on November 3rd, my birthday of last year, decided to ask me to marry him, and he put the ring in an Astro Gaming headset box. So I thought I was getting Astros for my birthday, and I ended up getting the ring, and of course I said yes. We are gonna get married on May the 10th, 2014. I'm sure y'all are wondering what happened with my mom, and she ended up turning her life around after she had my younger brother Tyler. She's now raising him. He's 12 and my sister's 16. She's a really good mom to them, and we have the best relationship we've had in my entire life, and I don't really hold much against her. I really do love my mom, not to mention that me and my stepmom ended up getting on a whole lot better terms, and I love my stepmom too, and life's great with them. One thing that still kind of bothers me now is I really still don't know exactly what I want to do with my life. Do I want to get into some type of acting? Do I want to be a teacher? Do I want to work with computers? I'm always still questioning what I want to be when I grow up. A lot of times I wish that I could just do what really does make me happy, which is continue to just pretty much make YouTube videos. Because of my childhood, I get really bad anxiety and my face will turn really red sometimes, and I kind of start to sweat. And something that's helped me get past this and make it a little bit less bad is actually making YouTube videos. And what's helped me to continue making those YouTube videos is you as my subscribers, so I really want to thank you for that. You've kind of helped me, you know, come into my own, and I really do love you guys for that, and y'all probably don't ever get to see that every day. That's gonna be it though for this video of Draw My Life. I hope y'all really enjoyed this. It did take me a lot of time to do this. That's gonna be my life in a nutshell. This really doesn't look like a nutshell. And as you guys know, until next time, get Fangbang nerds.